respect your own boundaries, your own budgets, stick to it. People will have a great time being with you, irrespective of the food or the gifts or the alcohol that you serve. So decide what your highest priorities are and then have the courage to stick to those. And I think you'll have a better experience post-Christmas.
Choose your battles, right? Or in this case, choose your parties or choose your indulgences, because it can be really easy to undo months of good work in the space of a week.
Harry, Merry Christmas. We're almost there, buddy. We're almost there. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Apparently, just a few sleeps until Christmas Day. So I have to say, though, I'm not like in a Christmassy festive vibe here. I actually asked my mum if she wanted to put up the tree, and she was kind of umming and ahhing. Ultimately, didn't want to, mainly because I'm probably not going to be around in January to like pull it down. I might go away for the month of January, so I don't think she wanted the hassle of pulling it down. So at the moment, we have got nothing. I think there might be a couple of Christmas cards floating around. I did mean to get some tinsel so I could just throw some tinsel on my plants. So I've got to say, I can't really feel like it's Christmas, but you must have a very different experience.
Well, I feel for you. I don't want to say Bahama. I appreciate for you it's a difficult time, right? First year.
Well,
for those that joined the show late, you obviously lost your dad on Christmas Eve last year, so I understand. Listen, I think tinsel on a plant is okay. I think it helps you get in the spirit of Christmas.
I've still got to do that. I haven't done it.
So. I'm a big fan. We've got our decorations out here. I'm getting excited. I love the period of time. Digital items out of the way, family time, games, lots of food and alcohol and wine and festivities. And I'm just a huge fan of Christmas music. The songs are now playing all the time. I love it. It puts me in the right spirit. So I'm super excited. We've already started watching Christmas movies in the house. A few things I wanted to bring up today, one of which does relate to movies. I know that you've actually watched the same movie. We talked about that offline a minute ago, so we'll get to that. I thought as well we could talk about some well-being tips for Christmas. I know we've probably covered a lot of these during the course of other episodes, but maybe pull them all together into one kind of list, if you like, some top 10 well-being tips for Christmas, but also gadgets, well-being gadgets in particular. And as one that has stood the test of time for me, that I know there's a lot of sales on, and we're not endorsed or there's no company sponsor or anything like that, but it is a product that I would definitely be recommending. I know you've got a few as well. So for those that are perhaps still trying to get to the shops or want to make some last minute deliveries on Amazon, and when they get this, they want to get something in for a friend, a family member, or something else that might help with their well-being, be keen to find out what your tips would be. So we're going to get to that a little bit later on in the show, I think. Let's start a little bit before we get into the well-being tips. This is I'm going to start with a little bit of a rant. I've got high energy, but I'm going to start with a little bit of a negative one. And one is why, and I've got to be slightly careful here in case certain individuals are listening. When I say certain individuals, it's the little ones that make Christmas what it is, right? And I have a slight issue when you walk into shops, and nearly every shop now has a whole display titled stocking fillers. It's frustrating. It puts parents under pressure that isn't needed, right? Because you promote certain questions. Well, what is a stocking filler? Because Santa fills the stockings. And of course he does. So why put all that pressure on parents to have to explain something? Which leads me to point number 2, which leads me to the movie that you've also watched, and you would have watched with a different mindset because they haven't got kids. But I found myself really excited about any evenings. We sit down as a family and we've watched 2 or 3 Christmas movies this week. Most of them dreadful movies, I'll be honest. But hey, you get you in the right spirit. But I found myself having to Google first whether or not they're appropriate for children. Not because they come up with swear words, not because there's any violence, but because I'm very concerned as a parent that certain secrets may be given away. And actually, we've had to stop watching 2 different movies for that reason. And only when I've Googled it have I seen block capitals that say this gives away certain bits of information that, if that was to get out and you're preparing just before Christmas, one of the most exciting, magical moments of a child's life, I think there needs to be some kind of stealth word that the film industry comes up with, or some kind of warning that doesn't give the game away, that kind of just tells parents it's a safe movie or it's not. Because we were watching one and it was it was a 12. It was a 12 and my son is 10, bad parenting or not, but I still think at 12 it's too soon. And it very blatantly would have given the game away. And I think, you know what? very easily my daughter could have been watching that with my son, even without the room, accessing that kind of movie thing. It's
What
for
was the
family.
movie? Do you want to share
What
it?
was
Or?
the movie? It was one with I'll find it. There's like a zillion on Netflix. It comes out with all the Christmas. I'll find the name before the end of the show. So that was one. I think the other one was one with Jack Black that's come out. But that was a 15. But again, there's warning signs in there. And then we watched Red One, which okay, to be fair, doesn't give it away, but it starts with a child saying that he doesn't believe in Santa and all that malarkey. And then obviously we're all thinking that the warning signs are there and we start panicking. Of course, lo and behold, in that movie, it's because that child was on the naughty list, and Santa then comes out, and you have to watch the movie to get through it. But
Mm.
I think as a parent, and I think as there are a lot of movie makers out there and retail establishments, there must be some kind of way that they can collectively get together to come up with a word or a warning system or a different word for stocking fillers for shops and for movies to make the dream last for as long as I think it could and should.
Maybe
And as a
Santa,
parent, I find that quite frustrating.
Santa's supplies, because maybe Santa goes shopping, he outsources some of
Perfect,
it.
right? There you
You
go.
know,
Nailed it straight away. It sounds better than stocking fillers anyway. Santa's
yeah,
supplies. There you
Santa's
go.
supplies. I have to say, J.K. Simmons taking on the role of Santa was the best part about that movie. It is I personally thought it was a terrible movie.
Red one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I was trying to think, well, obviously I'm not the target audience here, but I like Dwayne Johnson, I like Lucy Liu, I like Chris, what's his name, Evans, is
Right.
it?
Chris Evans.
Yeah, and but I'm not the target audience, and I was thinking this just is so bad. It took me 3 nights to get through it because one night I only got 15 minutes of it done, and then the final night I think I was doing other bits while having it on in the background just to get it done because I just wanted to finish it. But then I was thinking, I don't know, could it be a fun thing for an 8-year-old to watch? I don't know, or what do you
Uh,
think?
well, again, like,
How
okay,
did you
this
get
is a
on with it?
slightly different sequence. I still don't like the idea of a movie really reinforcing the idea of there being a naughty list and a good list. And I know without giving any movie spoilers away, during
What?
the movie, Santa has dedicated a list, and Dwayne Johnson, who is the security guard for Santa in the movie, becomes disenfranchised with being part of Christmas Day because he loses Christmas spirit because the naughty list for the first time ever has got bigger than the nice list. But again, I just still think that's a wrong message. I understand the idea behind it, so you're trying to keep your kids well behaved, but I think there's a point where you don't. I think it's a weak reason to create an entire movie around it. I think it's against
I mean, the
what
whole
Christmas
movie was weak.
spirit is all. It was
I,
weak, but I think it's
I mean,
against the
like,
principle of Christmas spirit. I don't like it.
it was a Dwayne Johnson produced affair, and I think he just tried to throw in as many tropes as possible, like snowman and the witch, and it was just
There was there was a
it
lot
was
in it.
just a
To be
big
fair.
mess. But I was gonna say, I think you're very optimistic if you think a 12-year-old still has certain thoughts in their mind. I remember
Look,
being
I get it.
8 or 9.
I get it. But the point is, when you're 12 years old and you've got siblings around, people watch movies whether you
Mm,
are there or whether you're not, that when you're close to the age, now my son's 10, and at the
mm,
moment, we are not sure one way or the other, and we're not going to break the illusion. I'm sure he's not either. He's
mm.
super excited, and 10 is pretty close. In fact, he turns 11 on the 8th of January, so we're really, really close to 11th birthday. And I also think if you've got a lot of kids are quite close apart in age, right? So close together in age. So if you've got a 12-year-old boy or girl and they've got another sibling that's a little bit younger, they're going to be watching those kind of movies.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's necessary.
Well,
You can create a movie without giving games away when it's
to be
about
fair,
Christmas.
I think my parents kept it up until we were in our 30s. So,
For the same
maybe,
reasons, like thing is, you never say anything because you're worried they'll find out you don't get what you're hoping to get. But if it's exposed in front of your parents, there's nowhere to hide, right? No one wants that.
no,
No one wants that.
no. So, but
I just don't think there's a for me, I grew up on Santa Claus the movie, brilliant
I,
movie.
I love that movie.
It's the original, fantastic.
1989 was it? I think
Yeah, The
1989.
Grinch is another brilliant movie. Like
Yeah, no, wrong with that one.
you can create great movies without
Mm,
having to go down that road. Anyway, that's my little rant. For any other parents that have gone through something similar, I sympathise with you. Hopefully, you're sympathising with me. But that aside, I'm very excited, and I
mm,
think we're well geared up for what's going to be a good Christmas. For the first time ever, we're not hosting. Well, first time ever, that's a lie. First time in 5 years, we're not hosting New Year this year. We're actually going to go away to kind of a Butlin style caravan park and
Oh,
make
nice.
it all for the kids and take the pressure off hosting and just have a bit of a chilled out family time. So I'm excited by that, which kind of led me to think, what are other people doing to prioritize their well-being at Christmas? And one of
Mm,
them for us is actually for the first year, so in 5 years, we're taking a little bit of the pressure off.
yeah.
And
I mean, that's it. I
can't
think
wait.
I don't feel so much pressure. I actually did say to my mum at one point, if I'm around, why don't we host it here? But she didn't really want to do that. And also, it's not really super conducive, maybe because I think some of the girls, some of my nieces want to host it at their house. Then yeah, the sleepovers and all of that. So plus, wouldn't really know how to cook the turkey or any of that stuff. So I mean, I could cook everything else, and someone else could do this turkey and bring it around. But in the end, because I still don't know whether I'm going to be here or not for Christmas, I've yet to look at flights. So I think in all likelihood I'll stay because it's kind of coming close anyway, and I'm working until the 20th anyway, so I might as well stay a few more days and then maybe take an extra week at the end of January, go maybe into February if I want to really have a long break. And so, yeah, probably won't do anything here. And like I said, I haven't got a tree, haven't done any of that. I'll probably make a nut roast for myself and anyone else who wants to eat it. Take that round to my sisters who's going to be hosting. And at the moment, I think present-wise, I've gone pretty easy. I've had to buy my nieces. I just bought my nieces all the same thing because I wasn't sure. Sometimes you buy something and then they might moan that they don't have a version of it or something. So I just thought, I won't say what it is in case this goes out and they're listening. Well, they're not listening, but my sisters are listening. But I can share it with you offline what I bought. I'm not sure if you've come across it, but it looks pretty cool. And then yeah, and then I don't know if I bought anything for the others yet. I'm gonna do it all like I think I've said in a previous episode. Tend to do it on Amazon, let it get delivered, and don't do the Christmas shopping out because take the stress off and the pressure off of doing that. But I will do next week to get into a state that you're into. So I kind of finish on Friday, so that gives me still Saturday, Sunday, I think Monday, Tuesday,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you've got quite a bit of time. So I can go without the pressure of buying things, maybe to the shops, see the lights, maybe get some of that Christmas music going on.
Christmas music. That's it.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I
baked
do like
cookies.
Christmas
Smell
music.
of baked cookies. I know you don't like things like that. You got honestly
Well, I
so
like
good.
Christmas music, and I would put the Christmas music on if I was doing the tree, but we weren't doing the tree, so I haven't put the Christmas music on. I tried to get all festive watching that Red One, but that didn't work so well. I may try and rewatch Spirited. I didn't really get on
No,
with that the first
no,
time.
I
Have
didn't
you
get on
seen
with
that
that either.
one? You didn't get
Yeah,
on
I
with
didn't
it?
get on with that much either.
No.
No. So
Um,
here we go then. So tip one's an easy one, and we kind of covered it in the last episode, which is kind of prioritize rest and relaxation. I think that's key. I think for
mm,
us, okay, so we are hosting Christmas this year again. We host it a lot, but we don't mind that. I don't mind it's cooking; it's easy. I think hosting Christmas and New Year and having a whole family, which I love and adore, and I love seeing everyone, but you suddenly realize after New Year that you're back at work and you've had no time for yourself. So I
yeah,
think this year we've decided not to do that, and we've got friends and family beforehand, and obviously we'll fill that community, that social bucket that you talk about. That'll energize us, have lots of family time, play games, tell jokes, bad karaoke, which we always do, all that kind of malarkey, and mulled wine, which I'm a big fan of. Don't know why we don't do that all year round because I love it. And then New Year, everyone goes home, we go away from the house, proper little bit of downtime, reset the mind, reset the body, watch the kids have some fun, and actually set a few boundaries for ourselves as well. So when you're committed to being somewhere else, it means we can't. It's very easy for us to decline other invitations in a nice and friendly way because we've got plans. So I think that those boundaries stop us from overcommitting, which is good. And I'm excited. I think if we have that as tip one, prioritize rest and relaxation, what would be your tip number two?
I think tip number two might be how think before you speak. So
Okay.
I think what happens a lot of the time at Christmas, you're around family members that maybe you don't interact with as much. You're going to have a bit more drink. It's going to be loose lips and so on. And so
Loose
that
lips.
idea of Or, yeah, exactly. That idea of think before you speak. And I think the acronym is, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind, for the THINK? So think before you speak. And going back to Dale Carnegie's tip from How to Influence People, which is the best way to get the way to get the best of an argument is not to have it at all, or
Yeah.
something along those lines. Because so many times we hear the story over and over again, right? You have the Christmas dinner, there's going to be an argument between family members about something trivial, and so my thinking is like, is it worth it? And maybe just hold your tongue. Is it one thing I often think of, and I think I've heard Bob Proctor say this once, and it really stuck with me. And it's a man or a person, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. And I like that phrase. And I always think, because you have that argument, you bend someone around to your way of thinking, you think you've won, but like at the end of the day, if they're convinced against their will, they're still got the same opinion. So I would say just go easy on the spirited debates and go easy on the spirits to stop the
Good.
spirited
It's
debates.
sage advice. It's good advice. And Dale Carnegie, you're absolutely right. It says something along the same lines, right? And he gives a really good example, which we've
Mm,
talked about on the show before over dinner, where he, deliberately doesn't side with the person who's right because it doesn't achieve anything. BMK, BMF, be more kind, be more fun.
mm,
I think be more kind is something we can all take we can all take on, because I think at Christmas, what often happens is we tend to, in a good way, sometimes we reflect on the year that's gone by. Right? I know it's not the end of the year, but we're almost there. We tend to consider Christmas as being the end of the year, and I think that whether it be good or bad, human nature is we tend to focus more on the negative sometimes than the positive things. We talk about the things that we've been through, the things we've survived, what got us here, how it's we can't wait for the new year, new beginnings, like an opening flower. We kind of almost want to write off the year that's been. I know to a certain degree I've been there a little bit with the year that I've had, losing my dad, losing my dog, losing various things that have happened, that the people that know me closely, and many things we talked about on the show. So it's very easy to sort of wish that time away and to focus on why it's been bad. And I think if you have a lot of people together, all with that mindset of talking of how things have been difficult, it's quite easy with a bit of alcohol or things like that involved for it to escalate quickly and go, well, I've had to deal with this and you weren't there for that. And it's like, oh, okay. And I think if we're able to be more kind and just remind ourselves that everyone's gone through stuff. A year is a long time. It's a short time, but it's also a very long time. And lots can happen. And people are coming from there. We've talked about it before. When you deal with someone, we react based on what we've been through and how we see the world. But the way they're talking to us is because of their education, their year, their culture, their beliefs, all the things that have happened to them. It's gotten to that point. And unless we're actually standing in their shoes, we'll never know how we would have positioned ourselves in that moment. So just be more kind at Christmas. Listen more, speak less sometimes.
yeah.
Be empathetic, be kind, and you know what? It's amazing the difference it can make from, as you said, loose lips, which can escalate an argument, to saying nothing and listening and showing a bit of compassion. The difference it'll have on the individual that's sharing those views one way or the other, and it can turn one thing can turn into a really positive, loving moment as opposed to an argumentative, difficult one. Of course, alcohol can sometimes make that difficult, but yeah, I
Yeah.
love that tip too. Be more kind.
That's why I often don't drink it sometimes at these family events. The other thing I would say is, remember, Christmas is about presents, not presents.
Okay,
I,
tip number three.
yeah,
Let's label it. Let's go through. See how many we can come up with. So there you go. Say that again. Tip number three. Go for it.
is about presents, not presents. So presents with a C as opposed to presents with a TS. And I think I get it. Like, my family have sent me lists, not for themselves, but for their children. And I went back at one point. I was getting all these different messages coming through the WhatsApp, and I just said, look, I'm not going to even look at this stuff. I feel like sometimes the parents put
You're
too
all
much.
getting smoothie makers. That's it. Done.
You're getting the same
They're only
thing.
four. That's what they're getting.
They're all getting the same thing. They're all getting something that one of them indicated they wanted at one point as well. But I get it, because sometimes it can be hard thinking, oh, what do I buy for X, Y, Z? And here's a list of suggestions. But I feel like sometimes it it it, it ignores what it's all about, right? And it is about the presence. Like, obviously, we're going to miss the presence of my dad this year, and I don't want the the idea of Christmas to be about gifts, because it's so. I really have an issue with the commercialization of every single holiday that you can have just to get money out of people. And I get it as a child. Then I try to put myself in the child's position, because we as adults, we think, well, actually, we can just go off and buy what you want within reason when you want it. You don't have to wait for Christmas. But as a child, you are literally waiting for just your Christmas and your birthday a lot of the time to get something that you want.
Yeah.
And I remember as a child, being quite like hurt at Christmas when I didn't get certain things, or my parents got it wrong. So I totally get it. I haven't got an issue with the children wanting things, but sometimes the adults, the ones that are like pressuring on the other adults about, Christmas got to be this and you've got to get them this. I'm like, no, just I'll get them whatever I get them, and let's teach them to be happy for whatever they get. And yes, if I can get them something they want and they need and they whatever, then that's all great. But I don't want that to be the emphasis. So I I think like I said, it's about presence, not presence, and that would be my other tip in just thinking of that. Yeah.
I saw a Instagram today which highlighted this. I don't know if I can quickly scroll and find it while we're live chatting. It was quite disturbing, though, about a kid that unwraps a present. If anyone's seen it, if I can quickly find it, I'll put the audio on. Basically, unwraps what is a scooter, and he's quite aggressive and says, "I didn't want anything's been like Christmas is shite. I hate Christmas," and then just storms off in the video. And that's kind of like that's the risk you have. And I don't know what the parents gone to afford the scooter or whatever else, and the level of excitement that quickly disappears when they see the level of disappointment. But it's interesting you said it's not about gifts. I can be really, I'm going to be a little bit fluffy here and in what I'm going to say next, but I think it is about gifts. It's just not about the physical side. It's the
Yeah.
gift of community, of love, of remembrance, of caring, of fun. The things that I don't think we collectively get to do at any other point, really, maybe birthdays. But even Christmas, I think, brings sometimes people together that don't often get together. Birthdays often
Yeah.
are different groups where you select who you spend your time with. Christmas sometimes don't always get that choice, right? So I think it's different. Again, I think Christmas is an opportunity for everyone to come together and remind ourselves of, as you say, what we've been through, mentioned a minute ago, but hopefully in a more empathetic way, to show compassion, to have some fun. I mean, old school fun. Certainly, everyone does Christmas very, very differently. I'm one of those families where every gift is done one at a time, and they get the families that rush down, open everything, and it's all done in 5 minutes. I'm not criticizing it, but everyone has a very different experience of what Christmas is.
Yeah.
But I do love the idea of it bringing people together. Everyone's sharing food around a table, talking, playing games. Digital devices pretty much off. I think for a lot of families, it's more about talking, reflecting, showing love, showing care, and having a bit of a drink and some good food at the same time. And we don't do that very often. So for that is a real gift. And they're the things that actually the kids really remember over and above any gift or anything else. And I do think that Christmas we talked about in the last show, Christmas puts a lot of pressure on parents to try and get that thing the kids really want to avoid disappointment. But sometimes, kids will remember it in that moment. They'll remember other things far more. It's just about setting that stall out really and trying to position Christmas for what it is, which is time for family, hopefully, for those other opportunities to have one and be around them and fun and community and spirit and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and generosity is definitely a part of it. And I think one of the things that I don't think I did it last year, but for a number of years over the last 15 years, I'm not sure if we talked about it in previous episodes in previous years, but Basket Brigade, haven't we talked about that? Where the Yes Group, which I was part of for many years, which is like a personal development community, if you like, and still part of it. And the Basket Brigade thing spun off, but it started from Tony Robbins many
You have
years.
talked about it, yeah. No,
Yeah.
you have on a
So
previous
on the
episode.
23rd of December, and I got the email today, which is why it's front of mind, because I thought, oh, they need drivers this year, and 23rd of December, which I'm not sure I can make it on hot, but hope maybe I will. But we get together. You spend the morning wrapping all these food parcels, like vegan ones, meat ones, whatever. right for the right number of people, people that wouldn't otherwise probably have a Christmas meal. And we get the names from various charities and so on. And then you spend the afternoon. Usually, there's volunteers that go with different volunteer drivers, and I've met people many times doing this. And you just drive around and you drop off like 4, 5, 6, however many food parcels you can fit in your car, and you drive around dropping all these parcels off. And sometimes you're done by, I think the quickest I was ever done was by about 3 in the afternoon. Sometimes I've gone till like 10 in the evening. And you go around and they don't expect it. You knock on the door and they're like, what's this? And you say, well, I'm just a messenger. Here's the thing. And at the bottom there's a card, so they, once they open it all up, they can sort of see that it's just from a friend, and once they get on their feet they can maybe pay it forward. And yeah, it's great. I think we normally deliver like 1,000 food parcels,
Amazing.
1,000 families, something like that. So that's a really good way of bringing people together and doing something good. And like, talk about Christmas songs, the whole thing is like a big party for the whole 4 or 5. Well, you start about 6 in the morning if you're getting there early to unload the trucks, but then most people, I think you want them to arrive about 8.
Nice.
8 till 2, it's a bit of a party when you're doing all the wrapping and everything, and then you drive off and do everything, and it's a really really rewarding day. So yeah, and I love it. And people have come from as far as like Bristol and further north as well to come to London to do it for the day.
Good.
So
We at work we've just given for Action for Children are doing a Secret Santa for children, vulnerable children event this year. So we've just sponsored that and donated from our work to give vulnerable children the opportunity to get what they call a Secret Santa. But ultimately, it's a gift where they're in a vulnerable situation, unlikely to get anything for Christmas. So we're quite proud as a business to be able to support Action for Children with that initiative this year, which is quite nice. It makes you feel warm on one side and sad on the other that there are children out there, which of course there will be, that are vulnerable at Christmas. So I think maybe I'm going to make tip number 4 then. We're talking about, well, bring everything we've talked about as focusing on the joy of small moments. Because I think that's, I always say, and you'll know this from when you've known me from years before, life is about stories. But from a Christmas context, it's about creating memories. It's not about creating perfection. I think if we focus too much on the perfect Christmas meal, on the perfect present, on the perfect gift, on the perfect day, even, we plan it all out so meticulously, and then lo and behold, it doesn't go like the way we planned, and we get frustrated with ourselves, or the reaction isn't what we'd hoped, or anything like that. I think it can get quite stressful. And I think you just described their brilliant way of how you can create a memory, and the memory of the reaction of someone taking your parcel, the memory of you dedicating your day to helping others. You told that previously on the show, so I can see that it resonates. And I think so my tip would be, let's focus on the joy of the small moments. Enjoy the smaller things in life, the little things in life that we look back on later on and realize that actually they were the really memorable things. That small thing that happened, right, are the things that stay with us. I can give memories on both sides. A negative memory, which maybe that's unfair to bring it up, but there was a certain gift that I was really excited about giving, and let's say that with a certain with your siblings, they guessed what it was and was like, well, that's lucky it's not that, because I don't need it, and I was devastated. I'd saved up so long. Right down to another gift, which for my parents, and my dad was still with us. I remember I must have been 8, 9 years old, and I bought a whiskey decanter set. I don't know how, obviously you're able to get served that stuff because it's only glass, not actually the alcohol. And I bought it from Argos. It was a cardboard thing, real cheap set. And in order to make it nice, I got loads of velvet, which my mum had in a sewing sort of kit stuff. And I stapled it all around the box, so it all had purple velvet inside, and then put the decanter back in, passed up. And I remember being so excited, and their reaction was exactly how I dreamed it would be. And that's a good memory for me. And if you look, they've still got it, and it's like the cheapest, crappiest decanter set you could ever imagine. But when you're 8 or 9 years old, or 10, whatever it was, you think it's the best thing ever. And with the mum kept some of the stapled velvet box, and that's quite nice to see. She gets out and shows me. I was like, oh, that's literally the velvet you staple gunned to wrap this thing up. You look back, and there's probably been way more expensive gifts that A, I've given, and B, that I've received that I don't even remember what they are. And I just think sometimes it's the smaller things, the really the funny games we've had, karaoke with my dad, which will always be a fun memory of me. I don't know what he gave me that year for Christmas, and I don't know what I gave him that year for Christmas. But I do remember being stood in my kitchen, arm in arm, singing from the top of our lungs various songs and karaoke, and that will stay with me for life.
A
So
karaoke tune would be great. I think karaoke.
yeah,
think Christmas. I think like we got into a habit the last few years. We watch movies, which I don't like so much. Whereas I think I'm sure when we were younger, we did way more games and board games at Christmas. It was the only time that we'd bring out board games. So hopefully the nieces are getting to the age now that we can play a few more board games. And I'll be interested to sort of see how it works, especially device-wise with the elder one, what she's up to. So yeah, it should be interesting
So
if
go on,
we
and
can.
what's your tip number 5? We've got 4 so far.
Oh gosh, for well-being at Christmas. Oh, that was it. Is to get outside. It's really, I think, easy to, and my mum was a classic example today where she hadn't left the house. I actually didn't really leave the house much until about 4 o'clock. I think I went out for a quick walk around midday before I had a call, but I decided just I needed to burn off energy, and so I cycled to the local shops and back. But Christmas walks, right? Christmas Day walks, or I think you like going for a run and stuff on
I
Christmas
do
morning.
love it. I think it's the best run of the year. I love it.
Yeah, and so
Christmas
just
hat
doing
on,
that,
always off you go.
especially if there's snow or there's nothing better than like snow or mist or something like that, and walking in the woods on Christmas. That really makes it feel like Christmas, like a Christmas walk with because a lot of the time I do my walks, I do like solo or whatever, and so it'd be nice to do Christmas walks, and that would be my tip is get out, maybe after you've overindulged a bit on the turkey and before you settle in for the evening. Maybe if it's still a little bit light, just go for that Christmas walk with the family, or go for the
Yeah,
Christmas walk in
nice.
the morning before the presents are opening, or just after the presents have opened,
We
something
tend to
like
go
that.
down to the seafront because they do the
Oh,
Christmas
cool.
Day run into the sea. So we'll
Yeah.
usually do that. Not everyone goes into the water, and that's fine. But we'll come down to the beach in the morning, and it's just a good like carnival atmosphere. It's a party
Mm,
spirit. Everyone's feeling the same. You don't feel like there's any kind of aggression in the air at all. It's just happy spirited things. And you mentioned the devices as well as the idea of disconnect to reconnect. And you know that I believe in that anyway over Christmas. It's the one day
yeah.
that I've mentioned many times in the show before where I don't, everyone I need around me is around me. I don't need my devices with me. So
Yeah.
I disconnect from your devices, get outside, feel the air. I don't know. The air for me just smells different. I'm a
Yeah. It does.
massive Christmas fan,
Yeah.
but
I
disconnect to
think it's
reconnect.
because there's less cars on the road where I am.
Yeah,
So
well, that too. That's probably it, and you can hear the music, and you can feel. I don't know. You
brilliant.
feel everyone's moving. They've got gifts in their cars, and everyone's kind of
Yeah.
moving for the same reason. There's an air of excitement. It's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. It's
That's it.
good. So that'd probably be my tips. I think.
Well,
Where
that
are
would
we?
link to moving your body as well. So something we talk about a lot on the show, right? So if
Mm,
you're going out for a walk, it's a chance to counter the holiday stress by getting a bit of exercise in. Not just about being outside in the air; it's about movement as well, isn't it? I know you're a big
yeah.
fan of movement in every form, so um, you can kind of link
Yeah.
that in.
That's what my tips would be. What about like? I'm curious to know the gadget that you were talking about, or the thing that you were talking about before. If we move the conversation now, unless you've got more tips that you want, I think five's good. Unless you've got a sixth one up your sleeve that you want to share.
Uh, yeah, no, I've probably got a couple of others actually. I think one
Yeah,
is, or maybe we've covered it. I think we talk a lot about gratitude. I think it's a good time to reflect. And I know I've mentioned that people do reflect, and we tend to go back about how our year has been. But I would make a poignant, like I'd make it like a proactive and mindful opportunity to reflect on the year and practice gratitude for it, because it's so easy to think negatively. And
mm,
it's going to be one of the hardest Christmases for me personally this year, not just because losing my dad, but for various things have happened this year. So actually, it's very easy for me to go into that mindset of it's been a terrible year, let's move on. And I proactively want to take the opportunity to reflect, to practice gratitude and be thankful for actually a lot of the things that have also happened that have been very positive. And I think it's a good opportunity for me then to look back, because I'll never forget this year for as long as I live, for the things that happened in it. And I don't always want to think back with that negative mindset. So I think there's an opportunity for me to be grateful for what's happened. I don't. We haven't talked about it before. We're going to do an episode on it. I don't keep a gratitude diary anymore. I keep something else called a stories diary, where I try and write down the story of the day, whenever that happens, like one sentence, and I look back so I can remember the things that have happened during the year. So that's something I'm going to be doing on Christmas. I'm going to probably read out some of those to myself or to my family if it's of interest to them, and talk about some of the stories, because that's what life is about, that have happened that year. So I think it's a good opportunity for people to do the same, to reflect on the year and to practice gratitude. We're going to be talking about that on probably till we ever finish this show, right? And gratitude's always going to be, and the idea of feeling thankful for things is always going to be in there somewhere. And I think alongside that as well is giving ourselves permission to say no, because I think, and this is slightly a different point, so they're not one and the same. You said, do I have any other tips? There's another one. I think at the moment, at Christmas, certainly in the lead up, we feel obligated to say yes to everything. Yes to making sure we cater for every possible food outcome that may ever exist, every possible alcoholic combination that can ever exist, to make sure that we've got every gift that could possibly make people happy. And what happens is we overspend, we put ourselves into places of stress that we don't need to, and we forget that actually sometimes, you know, less is more. Just because people have asked for something doesn't mean we have to make it so.
Mm.
There has to be an air of flexibility. And I think people do respect your limits if you're willing to say no. The easiest thing to do is say yes to everything, because that's the easy word. But then sometimes you can be paying for that for many months after Christmas is gone. So I think if you're listening to this before Christmas Day comes around, like, respect your own limits, be aware of what they are, focus on what really matters to you. Um, and I think that will make Christmas be a little bit easier for you if you're able to do that. The temptation is to run back to the supermarket and spend another 100, 200, whatever it is. Like, it's so easy to spend money at Christmas, and
Yeah.
you end up with just too much food, too much spending. People say they wanted things, they get there. Oh, do you drink eggnog? Yeah, I drink. Oh, no one. Eggnog sits in the back of the cupboard. No one ends up drinking it. But because you said, "Would you like it?" and everyone said yes, and you realize you buy the stuff and no one ends up drinking it because there's always something else they prefer. It's that kind of expense, right? It's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
would you like an alternative to Christmas pudding? Well, I like chocolate cake. You end up buying 6 different cakes, and then none of them end up getting eaten because everyone's too full from Christmas dinner. Like, respect your own boundaries, your own budgets, stick to it. People will have a great time being with you, irrespective of the food or the gifts or the alcohol that you serve.
Mm.
So decide what your highest priorities are, and then have the courage to stick to those. And I think you'll have a better experience post Christmas. So there'd be 2 other tips that I would give. Probably others. Nourish your body, kind of tucks in there. We talked about a little bit in the last one, and maybe in
Yeah.
immunity and health. But it's very easy to go down the road of too much alcohol and too much chocolate and things like that. So don't be, as another tip, don't be afraid to. Now, you're probably more educated to speak on that subject than me, but I think it's important we remind people as a tip. If you want to stay in a good place of well-being, it's very hard to do that if you're hungover every day and you've overeaten and you're eating
Yeah.
crappy food.
I
So
guess that would be choose your battles, right? So, or in this case, choose your parties or choose your indulgences, because it can be really easy to undo months of good work in the space of a week if you're doing something every day. But if you're saying, okay, well, Christmas Day is going to be the day I do X, Y, Z, and maybe one other day, then that's fine. But I guess I don't have any rules like that because I kind of, I
you
guess,
live that way to a
yeah,
certain
it's
degree.
not so much that. It's just that I don't have that I don't feel like I'm denied anything. So I don't feel like I've got that desire to like go full out on things and overindulge with lots of things. So I don't know if I have that issue. Like even today, I was walking down the supermarket and I was looking at a few things that a couple of years ago would have enticed me, right? These other cookies that I like, these gluten-free vegan cookies and some chocolate I was tempted by because I thought, oh, maybe I'll buy it, not for tonight, but because I'm got a couple of long days at work and sometimes it could be a nice little treat when I'm getting the train home to get some nice vegan chocolate. I thought, you know what, I'm not going to buy it because I also know what I'm like. And if I sit down later this evening and I know that it's floating around in the house, I might be tempted to take it. And I know, nothing wrong with chocolate, but I know my body and I know that I don't sleep well if I have chocolate
Yeah,
late on in the day. And so I was like, you know what, I'll just, like I've always said on the show, I don't ever deny myself anything. I just don't tend to buy these things as a weekly shop or as part of my normal shop, but I will buy them when I'm out and about. So I don't feel like, yeah, I mean, you were talking about eggnog and the Christmas pudding and all of that a second ago, and I was thinking, I don't know, I'll definitely be up for a glass of champagne, but then there's not anything I'm like thinking. I used to like a glass of port back in the day,
I
but
love it.
yeah, I did get into it for a while, but I'm not thinking, oh, I'm looking forward to Christmas. I'm looking forward to I don't know. I think I've been very un-Christmassy, if I'm honest, the last maybe 5 or 6 years, and I do think Christmas is a great time to be with family and all that. But I do think that some of the momentum of Christmas is wrapped up with children, school
Yeah, for
activities.
sure.
All you get swept up in that. Whereas
You do.
it's very easy when you live by yourself. Although I'm not by myself now, but you live by yourself or you're single or whatever, that you can. And often if I'm not like watching regular TV, I'm not listening to the radio, I just don't. i could
But
i
I,
could almost
I think
get to Christmas Day and not realize it's Christmas, is what I'm trying to say
I think that
sometimes.
ties in a little bit though the last tip I gave about respecting your own boundaries, right? Or giving your permission to say no. So for you, and I'm reading between the lines here and speaking for you, so correct me if I'm wrong, but you live a very different life to me. I've got kids and married, and I've got a family, things coming up, which is slightly different. But and you've got your way of living your life. But some people will feel pressured that they've got to stay with their family the entire time and do everything with them because it's Christmas. And actually, if that doesn't make you happy and you're not in that spirit, and actually a lot of people just need their space to be by themselves and do what they do, then again respect that boundary of your own boundary and go and do the thing that makes you feel optimal and makes you feel happiest, because there's nothing worse also than pulling someone around who doesn't want to be there but feel like they have to be. And I think we've all got different boundaries, we've all got different ways of making us happy. And I think that's okay. It's just giving yourself permission, and people don't always
Well,
do that.
I mean, to be clear, it's not that I'm like avoiding family or anything like that. I'm just saying it's almost like Christmas just appears for
Mm,
me. I remember when I was younger, I remember that Christmas feeling, and you had the advent calendars and you had all this. I just don't get wrapped up into that. I haven't been bought into that for a number of years, in terms of, not that I've actively decided, oh, I'm not going to do this, or I'm anti-commercial. It's just I kind of get on with my life. And like I said, because I don't have the influences of maybe watching regular TV or listening to radio or reading the newspapers or having the children come home and with all the Christmas gift demands, I just kind of get on with my life. And I know Christmas is happening, but it doesn't overwhelm my daily
mm.
thinking. It's
I
not
felt
it's
a bit
not part of my consciousness really, other than
I
to
felt a
know
bit
that.
sad today because I missed my son's carol service. I was on a podcast and I didn't only found out about it today. My wife said, "Oh, can you come? Can you make it along?" And I was like, it's the time. I'm already booked in with another podcast. I would love to have been there, but I couldn't. And he didn't have a line or anything like that. He was just singing as part of the school. But my wife came back and said it was really lovely, all Christmassy, all the little kids singing. I love all
Mm.
that. It's just
Yeah,
nice.
I
So
mean, I
um,
do love it. As just like I said, it doesn't cross my paths, and I don't seek it out so much.
exactly.
So maybe in the 4 or 5 days we have from like Friday until whenever it is, maybe that'll crop up more if
And Red One doesn't do it. He's going to watch the 1989 Santa
no,
Claus the movie, mate. That
no,
was
maybe or It's a Wonderful Life. I watched that for the first time maybe 3 years ago. You've seen that
I've
one,
still not seen it.
have you not? Oh,
No,
maybe that's a nice one for you to watch at
it's on
some
my
point.
list.
Um, I watched it maybe 3 or 4 years ago with both my parents.
I'll tell you
Well,
what.
it
Tell you what,
was
let's do
nice.
this. I want to go back quickly to nourishing your body because and I'm going to get this wrong, and I haven't had a chance to look it up to be specific what it was. But a quote came to mind, which is the Hippocrates says something along the lines of, if I could heal most of the world or most of my patients if they stopped doing the things that made them sick, which has always stuck with me. Obviously, maybe not 100% accurately, but the idea of it, which is true, which is if we stop, you know, eating bad food, drinking too much alcohol, actually there isn't an awful lot wrong with us. We can get by. So I think have that at the back of your mind on nourishing your body piece. So let's get to the gadget piece. You want to talk about that before we do, but while we're talking about films, I'm keen to understand. So what are your top 3 Christmas movies? I know mine straight away, so let me get
Oh
yours.
God, top three. I think Love Actually has to be up there.
Nice. Okay,
Love
so
Actually.
that was on mine. So I'll replace one of mine. That would have been on my list. That was number
Okay.
3. Good
Um,
choice.
oh God, what other ones do I like? I can't think of any other ones right now. Oh, no, I was going to say Die Hard, but there's a whole debate about whether that's a Christmas movie or not.
I think
And
it's a Christmas movie. I think I'll accept it. I'll
I'm
accept
sure
it. It's a great Christmas movie. Of course it is.
it definitely wasn't. It's just a movie that happens to happen at
It's
Christmas.
definitely a
Um,
Christmas movie. He has to get home for Christmas. He has to get back to his
that,
work with
that's
yeah.
true. I'm trying to think of other Christmas movies that I
Well,
would
Santa
watch.
Claus, the movie we've discussed, I think it has to be in there, right? The
Yeah, but I
original.
haven't seen that for a long time, and as an adult, I'm not like jumping to kind of rewatch that. But Love Actually is one that I could quite happily rewatch.
It's very good.
Sure. The one I wanted to be able to rewatch, but I feel like I can't because I think the nature of the movie made it so that rewatching it you lose what made it magical in the first place, which is Last Christmas. Have you familiar with that one?
I don't think I've even seen it. If I have, I don't remember it.
Ooh, watch that. It's a really nice movie, but I don't want to say any more.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
Last Christmas it's called, and so that's a nice one. I can't think of it. Maybe if you mention yours, it might spark something
Okay.
else in me.
So, so we've talked about Santa Claus movie already, but my top three: Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
I thought that you would say that. Yeah,
Love that movie.
I
I
was not
love that
about
movie.
that, but I can see, especially
I
when you
just
talk
love.
about
Actually, it's a great movie.
getting home for Christmas. Yeah, yeah.
And I imagine there's people listening to this shouting at it or going, "Why haven't you said it yet?" Right? And I'm not. The Grinch is a good one. Doesn't make my top three, but
No, it
Elf.
doesn't.
I just love Elf.
Oh,
Elf.
Elf.
Will Ferrell. It's so good. It's
It
just.
is. I only
Um,
watched it first time a couple of years ago, and I was watching it solo, so I
you gotta
wasn't.
watch it again, dude. It's so
I
good.
was
Honestly,
with the kids or something like
watch it every year. It's so
that.
good. It's so good. Well, I was a big fan. I mean, probably people like hate Will Ferrell and don't love it, but for me, it's Christmassy. It ticks every box for me of what a Christmas movie
Oh,
should be about.
I know one of my favorite ones. Then I would say is I do like not the spirited one, but Scrooge.
Yeah,
The what do you call it?
Is
The
it called
comedian
Scrooge or the original one? The
guy.
Scrooged as well.
Scrooge. I think the 1990s one
Yeah,
with
that's good.
Bill
That's
Murray.
good.
Bill Murray.
Yeah. That's a good
I
movie.
thought that was quite good. I like that for sure. Um, I like Christmas movies which show snow as well in them, which I think
That's what you got.
we
Snow
don't.
and Die Hard. Got Snow and
Yeah,
Die Hard.
we don't
Yeah.
get. We don't. I seem to remember as a child, like in the 80s, snow being there almost every Christmas, or at least in the winter. Now we don't. I mean, obviously
No,
climate change, whatever. We're not getting snow hardly at
I
all.
remember every year without fail, Santa Claus movie came on, and it was just like that was the beginning of Christmas. It was on every single
Well,
year.
this
They
is the
don't play it
difference.
anymore.
Is
They
that
have four
is that
channels, right? They had
before
to pick the best one.
before the movies or everything was on TV, so we'd have to wait and we'd have that Christmas season on
Yeah,
TV.
yeah.
Whereas I think that, with streaming and having every movie year round, whatever you want, it's harder. But I loved it. I mean, I get a lot of people who are 14, 15 years old, and I ask them the time travel question. I often say, if you could time travel to any point in the past, you'd be surprised. Probably half of the answers end up being like the 80s or 90s, and most of the time because they say it's a simpler time, it was easier, like no mobile phones and internet and stuff like that, and they're craving it, and
I
I'm
can
always
believe it.
there going, I was there in the 80s, and they're like, what? And they're like, wow. I was like, I was your age in the 90s.
It's
So
like the Springsteen song, 57 channels and nothing on. Right? There's so
yeah,
much choice now that you.
too much
I
choice.
mean, honestly, Netflix, they've got a whole Christmas movie thing on, and it's
Mm,
and Sky and Prime, whatever. Most of them are just dreadfully cheaply made,
yeah,
awful
because
crap.
we like
Like,
Christmas
awful.
movies though, that's the thing, and we want more and more, and it's
No,
yeah,
we just
I
consume.
don't,
We end up with just a really low level of content. It's just rubbish.
yeah,
But
low
Elf,
quality.
Elf for me is in there. Yeah, Love Actually, 100% love that movie.
Mm.
And Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which I'm going to watch again because my kids haven't seen it. My wife had never seen that before she met me. Bear in mind, we've been together 21 years, so
Maybe I should watch that actually at some point.
brilliant.
Yeah, with family. But yeah, yeah, that'd be
Right,
interesting.
gadgets. That's the movie
Yeah, so
done.
actually, I was talking. I went for dinner with a friend of mine. I was in Brighton at the weekend trying to sort out some issues, and so went for dinner, and he was asking me about red light boxes, infrared light boxes. Now I know you don't have one. I
No.
actually recently bought a second one on the Black Friday sale. They are not cheap, so I'm not sure. You'd have to really love your person you're buying the gift for, I think. But I do love my infrared or near infrared light
We do have
box.
an infrared face mask. It's not a red
It's
light
not.
box.
You know what? He was asking me about that as well. I've got something, a face mask as well with the lights. It's not quite, I think, as good. I don't think that. I think some of them are a little bit dodgy in terms of do they really work? Are they worth anything? And I much prefer the light boxes for various reasons. Because when I'm rebounding, working out, it covers more of the body. It has the right wavelengths, I know for sure. And for me, I always have one in the kitchen now when I'm doing my juices and smoothies and washing up in the morning, because it helps me wake up. I actually prefer that in a way to the SAD lamp that I used to use. And
Yeah.
so even this morning, actually, my mum and I, we had a box each and we were sitting doing our meditation. We did like a little 7-minute meditation together. Then we did our
Nice.
5-minute mobility routine, and we have the infrared lights coming on us. And they're, for those of you that are listening that I'm not sure why I'd even bother, it's because it does help with things like inflammation. It helps with your mitochondria in terms of stimulating those, giving them energy, which is the powerhouses to your cells, collagen production, fine lines, wrinkles. And for me, I just feel much better with it. And so I would just buy boxes. And I actually like not the full size ones, just the half size ones, because they're a little bit easier to move around and you can put them into the different positions you want. So that would be something that I would definitely recommend from a large present perspective, because we're talking hundreds of
Well, talking of
pounds.
the red light, we don't use it as much as we should. Well, we've got the Thera Body, which I'm a big fan of that brand, although they are a little bit pricey, of the face mask, which, just going with your stats, I just had a quick look on Google. Yeah, 96% of people says skin looks smoother, healthier, rejuvenated, more luminous, improvements, all stuff. You're talking about skin benefits. So this has 17 what they call proprietary QX and micromotors, which give massage, blue light as well as red light. So they've got red infrared light, reduce dark spots, improve radiance, fine lines, and then blue light, which targets acne and fights acne-causing bacteria. Apparently, it's not the cheapest product though. I'd say that they can probably get cheaper ones on the market, but I think it's a
That one
good
sounds like quite a half decent one. The one I've got, I think a friend of mine bought, is probably like 30 quid on Amazon. So I
yeah,
kind of
good.
like it. It helps me when I feel a bit like wiped out after school. I sometimes lie down and have the face mask on. But I prefer the boxes in general for certain things. So that would be a sack filler, not a stocking filler, I suppose, because you need a big sack for that. The other thing, gadget wise, obviously an aura ring from a well-being perspective.
Yeah.
Something like that would be really
Get some
good.
good deals on the old version ones now, don't you? Because they've just released
Yeah,
their
so I
Aura
think they
Ring
were a
4.
couple of £100 off the Gen 3. And also the other thing, we're talking about face quality and face stuff, is I tend to use a CBD based hemp butter, and that's it. I'm a really adamantly against most products that are sold for skin and face because they're full of rubbish. So I use a brand which has got basically very little components in it, and I feel like I've been using that for on or some version of that, whether it's that brand or a different brand, for about, it must be about close to 10 years. And I haven't really ever used anything on my face until 10 years ago, and I don't really put anything which is a bit alien or chemical in onto my skin. So I'm actually buying something for my nieces in that regard, because they have started to get into products, and I'm against a lot of the products that they're putting on their skin. And so, and I know you're big on the whole against sun cream stuff and all that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're familiar with the toxins that go into these products. So for me, it's really getting something good like that. And that's actually a cheap. So that could be a stocking filler for Santa to buy, if he's listening. So
Oh no,
yeah,
Santa's. What do you call it? Santa's special gifts.
I can't even remember what I said.
Oh, it was good though. It was good.
Santa supplies.
There you go. A good
Santa
Santa supply
supplies.
there for you.
Santa
Um,
supplies.
so
What else for you?
Oh, gadgets for well, you and I invest in lots of gadgets. Some are amazing, some are all good, I think, but you end up not using them as much as you
Yeah, not
probably
using
should.
them as much. Yeah.
And I found myself this year, the one that, and I bought myself a Neurosim, which I do still use. I take with me everywhere. I don't use it as
Which
much as I
one
should.
is that?
Quite pricey.
What's that
That's the
one?
one that it connects to your ear and massages the vagus nerve to help with
Oh,
sleep and that kind of,
right.
which that's quite a pricey gift, and I haven't used it as much as I probably should have done for its
Mm.
value. The one thing I wanted to recommend today, which I've talked about before, I think, because it's like half price at the moment. It's still not inexpensive. It's like I can get that for 99 quid at Boots, but I take it everywhere I go. So anyone that struggles with insomnia, or anyone that struggled to get into meditation, to mindfulness, who struggles to switch off, those kind of things, or struggles with stress or overwork or burnout, I think it can help with a lot of different symptoms and things. And for 99 quid, I think it's a good buy. It's the smart goggles by Body. So what they are, they're goggles that go around. They give you.
Yeah, you brought them around to mine once, didn't you?
I
And they're
have,
only,
yeah. Bring them in. I go take them everywhere I go.
they're only
They're an item that always come with me. Always come with
oh,
me. I love
mate,
them.
I'm tempted now. Maybe that'll go on my list for
For
myself.
£99, right? Literally, so they go around your eyes. You download the app. It gives you all the different mindfulness soundscapes. So some are, you can have white noise, pink noise. You can have
Mm.
rain flow, whatever you want. There's also guided meditations on there if you want to take that. Most of them are like 7 minutes to 20 minutes long, so nothing too long. Of course, you can connect it to your own music and stuff as well if you prefer, but I tend to use it with the app. It's got a heart rate sensor in there, so when you start the goggles, it will give you your starting heart rate and then your resting heart rate at the end. It always, without fails, drops because you relax and listen to the music. So that's quite nice, and it can track your data. But here's the killer, right? It's not just the music; it massages your face. So it's got
Yeah,
little massages in. And if you get any pain here in the sinuses or the side of your head, and you're just feeling stressed around the eyes, it's a really comforting massage. You can have heat, you can have not heat, you can have it pulsing, you can have it so it radiates. And I think I paid full price for it maybe 3 years ago, and I think it was about 200 quid then. I think it came down to about 175. But at the moment, you can get it at Boots for 99 quid. I'm
wow.
sure it's the same on their website, and there's discount codes out there as well. You can probably get it even less than that. But I take it everywhere with me. And I think for anyone that listens to this who's interested in getting into or struggle to get into meditation or struggle to switch off or struggles with sleep and just wants a device that's really small you can take with you on holiday, have in your office, and just want to zone out. I think the shortest workouts are like 7 minutes. I think anyone can find 7 minutes in a day just to get into this. I used it earlier. I had a 21-minute session earlier today, and I was like, you know what? I'll bring it up on the podcast later because you go in beforehand.
Mm.
Like we talked about it before. Sometimes, like, I give myself an excuse not to do it. Everyone can fit 7 minutes in, and you just feel so much better afterwards. Just feel
Yeah,
relaxed.
I'm going to look into that one, even though I really don't need anything more. And I honestly sometimes I buy these things not less for me and more for others. I buy it on the proviso it's mine, but to lend out to other people because I think if I bought it directly for them, sometimes they don't. And I've done this in the past; they just don't use the thing
No,
anyway.
and £99 isn't a small amount of money for people,
It's not.
but
Although on the gadget side, it's actually on a smaller end. I mean, some of the other ones I had a go on yesterday. My sister's PEMF mat, or actually technically it's my brother-in-law's PEMF mat, so pulse electromagnetic frequency
yeah,
mat, and they're pricey, they're punchy, they're at about £1,000 I think for that. And I had a great time. I was listening to it's called the gateway process. It's a meditation which I discovered recently, which is something that the CIA were looking into many years ago in the 80s. As a effectively it's a meditation practice to help you transcend this body, if you like. And so it was all declassified by the CIA in the 80s. And I'll have to send you a video talking about it, but it was quite interesting. And it's basically just using binaural beats to help
yeah,
bring
yeah.
the brain into so you have
You should
different.
explain what they are because if people haven't heard it,
Yeah,
they won't know
so
what it is. But you've
binaural.
got to listen to binaural beats with a good sound system. It's insane. It's
Yeah,
really
so
good.
effectively they, at least this one, they'll play different sounds through either your left, so you have to listen to it with headphones, and it will play different sounds or different frequencies from the left and the right. And it kind of confuses the brain, but it activates both sides of the brain, so we have our
Yeah.
whole brain sync up, rather than typically one side of our brain is active at a time. And so when you can get this whole brain sync up, it can unlock a lot of potential for seeing and observing things. Actually, I often say that Einstein was deemed to be so smart, not because he had a bigger brain, but because he was able to use his left and right brain really well. He had a very strong corpus callosum, which is the bridge between the left and the right hemisphere, which gets built up through neural activity. But if you can activate both sides of the brain, you can maybe access altered states. And I was playing around with that on the mat yesterday, and a bit of yoga nidra as well. So I was lying on it for an hour, and you do get like you blissed out. So I do like that as a gadget, but again, that's quite a pricey one. So there's different prices really. So I guess
I
the
think
face
what's come
cream would
down
be the cheapest
if
one.
you're doing your secret, your Santa
Santa
supplies.
supplies, yeah, Santa supplies.
You can get some really relatively decent massage guns and things now for like 10,
Mm,
15, 20 quid. I think
oh
that's a
really?
pretty good price. If people haven't got
Yeah,
them, You know, again, you can used to,
Yeah.
they used to be a fortune. They've come right down in
I've got
price.
the Therabody massage gun, which I do like because it's
I've
of
got the
that
same one.
triangular. You got the triangular handle, so it
Yeah,
actually, which they have patented apparently that kind of triangular handle, and it actually does make it easier when you're doing it on yourself to get to the certain places rather than the straight handle one. So yeah, I actually like that massage gun. I brought that back because it was sitting in Brighton for the last few months, and I brought that back because my mum has got a bit of pain somewhere, so we use that a little bit. But the other thing I really like, which I would recommend, are those compression trousers. Love
yeah,
those. They're great. I mean, if you put the compression trousers on and a bit of infrared light going around you, and then you wore your eye massage thing, oh my God, you'd be blissed out. You'd
mate.
be so
Well, to
blissed
be
out.
honest, I've done that. I've had Neurosim on. I've had the vagus nerve being massaged. The goggles on. I've had the, the the compression boots on all at the same time. It's and the face. You got the old face mask as well
Yeah, yeah.
afterwards. It's full on like yeah, like I don't know, spa treatment at
It
home.
is
Home
blissed.
spa.
You do get blissed out, and you know, speaking about Christmas, this is about time for taking time for
Care
yourself,
of
right?
yourself.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
so give yourself that gift of like
Self
a
care,
bliss
self
experience.
care and
I would
rejuvenation.
say.
We had
Uh,
my wife's had a au pairs come round, she met them in New York years ago, a group of girls. They've been together for 30, 40 years as close friends. And it was funny, I came up into the living room and one girl had the Therabody face, the red light face mask on. And it's hilarious to see someone in. They look like some kind of cyborg or humanoid. And someone else had the foot spa, like the foot massage, the infrared thing going on. Someone had they all had the different pieces of kit and they were just rotating them around. It was like a little spa session in the living room upstairs.
great.
So yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, yeah, we could. I could probably do something like that here. Some of them will be a bit more torturous though, because I've got that electrical device that I actually quite like, but I haven't used it for a few days now. With the tens where you get a little electric shock through
Yeah,
your
yeah.
feet. It's kind of quite nice to listen to watch something and do that. It's that little bit of jolt, little
Well,
bit
that's
of
the
pain.
gadget I don't use enough. I've got the full 10, the kit where you wear it on your top on your body.
Well,
And
that's
that
actually the thing I
I
was going
just
to say.
don't use it. I need to use it more often.
I was trying to think, oh, do I want anything? Do I need anything? And the short answer is, of course, I don't. But do I want something? Yes, probably. And I was thinking, actually, something like that would be quite good if I was doing a
I
little bit
need to
more.
get it out. I need to use it. I need to use it. It's just one of those things that's an afterthought, and I see it every day, like in the
But
wardrobe,
it
and never
doesn't
get it
take a
out.
bit of
But
effort
it's
to
an
put on.
expensive. It is, but it's an expensive piece of kit to be sat in the wardrobe. You know,
Mm,
it's about 800, 900 quid, and it's really good. It absolutely exhausts you if you use it. For those listening, not sure what it is, it's top and bottoms of like electro, whatever it is, the sciences where it does it
yeah.
pulsates all the muscles as you work out. But you can wear it like a vest underneath your clothes and go and do it. You can do a run at the same time as it's working all the muscles. So a 5K run feels like a half marathon. Like it just exhausts you. And it's quite good. But yeah, it's maybe it's the effort piece
I
or
need to
just
try that next time I either
I'll
come
bring it
down,
down for you.
yeah,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
you come up or whatever. I'd love to try that because actually, I feel like in the mornings when I'm doing my mobility or my rebounding, which is only like say 5 minutes mobility, and if I do the rebound, it's a bit longer. Um, Wearing that actually would be good because often that's all I've got time for, and that would actually,
Certainly maximizes your workout because it just
yeah,
yeah, and you can
mm,
obviously go up in intensity. So yeah,
yeah, that would be quite
yeah.
interesting. So yeah, so there's a
We've
few gadgets.
we've broken. So we've got a
Yeah,
few gadgets people to think about. We've gone through some Christmas movies. Hopefully, a bit of a list of things to think about over Christmas. But most importantly, listeners, anyone who's watched us on YouTube, followed us on audio, thank you. Have a really Merry Christmas. Really,
mm,
really enjoyed being with you for the last year. Really enjoyed every conversation I have with
yeah.
Harry. I hope everyone is well and happy and takes the rest and recuperation they need and has a really, really good festive and Merry Christmas.
Likewise, and if you want to give us a gift this Christmas, we would love if you're not already sharing and subscribing to do that, but also to leave us a review on wherever you are listening to this right now. That
Yeah,
would
good
be
show.
your gift to us, and we greatly appreciate every single one of you listening, tuning in, and following along to us.
Good shout. Share the love. Share it with anyone else you might enjoy it. That'd be great. But yeah, listen, Harry, I wish you a Merry Christmas as well, buddy. Have a really good
Yeah,
time. I know it's a tough time, Christmas Eve. I'll be thinking of you always, and look forward to bringing us next episode we're going to be talking about is going to be the new year, right? New beginnings. So let's get there. Let's have that chat after Christmas.
indeed. All right, take care. Have a good one, buddy.